Hey, I'm here with Preston Vaughan, who has on his channel. What is your channel called, Preston?
Protector of the Realm, Preston Vaughan. So,
Yeah. As you saw the other day, I put a couple of your videos out. The
mhm.
one about the sun and the one about talking about not falling off.
There being no edge, right?
Yeah, no edge.
Yeah, I'm a no edger guy. So my conception of the Earth is I wanted to make everything on the globe work on a flat and stationary model, and that's every day I just work more and more at
I
making
just
sure.
explain to people that you're like when I joined this awakening, whatever you want to call it, you were one of my first friends, weren't you, um, weren't
Yep,
you,
yep.
Preston?
Wait, sure.
Yeah,
I've been,
I
been
actually came across you because you were talking about the moon cycle and that, and I liked what you said.
yeah, me and my friend were watching some of my older videos the other day where I was explaining things and I didn't quite know what I was talking about yet, or you could tell I was new to explaining it or understanding what I was seeing.
Yeah, but I was obviously because Robert Forsh is another one, and I mean I've been friends with him for 6 years, so I've probably been like I know we haven't talked a bit for a bit, but you've explained all that to me.
Mhm.
But we've been friends for 6 years.
Yeah, for a long time. I still occasionally would watch some of the sun and moon chats or see them or like them or randomly comment here and there. So
Yeah, but it's good that you're back, Preston.
yeah, I got a little bit carried away with. Started focusing on my own life. For I had to get myself in order, and yeah, I just feel like there's a calling here for me, and that I have I wouldn't eyes that other people don't, and that need to be shared. I guess
Yeah,
like I
what
have.
it is the people watch my channel, and I do get like bigger YouTubers, if you like. We have Russian vids,
Mhm.
Crow's a bit busy at the moment. I've just had one with Brian Forrester. I love those hangouts, but I also like the community, and a lot of people don't know there's people like you who are
Mhm.
still, you said you felt like you've got a calling. So there's other people also doing their own, helping,
Yeah,
doing stuff.
I don't really do all the mainstream talking points. My theory is basically I'm the only one talking about it. That we see our own light in the sky. All of the light that you see, including daylight, night light, the sun, moon, stars, are personal to you. They're your own lights, and every single one of them, everything that you're seeing as far as light is concerned, is projected from you. And I'm doing this through observation and explanations that you can go test and observe and repeat yourself. I don't like. I'm more directed towards my positive passion right now, rather than com- combating our enemy.
So
Like,
what does
cause
it mean right now then I can see you in light? What does that mean? I'm making that light up to see you.
right. Well, everything you're seeing right now is a reflection of your own lens, right? So you're living inside of the center of your own reality, right?
I mean, we did this bit of a little while ago when if you go to the beach and someone's standing, say, 10, 20 feet from you and they take pictures, the sun only comes to their feet. And if you take a picture, the sun only comes to your feet. So that's a bit bizarre, isn't it? I mean, that sort of explains what you're talking
Well, yeah,
about.
that's how reflections work in general. So I know that glow believers can use that as every explanation that I use from my observations. I try not to get one that are easily strawmanned through globe science. And the way light reflection works, you could do that also with how the beams react. The moonlight does that too off the water. If you go to the beach during a full moon.
And also, never forgetting what you said about the moon. I was away last year and we were at the Stin Church, which is the sea, well, the coastline looks out to France. And I watched that moon. It was on top of the water. That's when I spotted it. And I saw it go up into the clouds.
Well, that's the thing. I made a firmament video of everybody that used the word firmament, and they all describe the moon and the stars and stuff inside the sky, not in outer space, not anything remotely close to that. And these are very famous, powerful, smart, intelligent people, and they're describing things that we're all describing. And and all these truthers that are waking up to realm science. Yeah, I just don't understand how somebody could explain to you, hey, look, do you see how the moon's illuminating your nearby clouds? How can you tell that's not a personal projection? And for the mind not to immediately say, oh crap, I've been lied to. It should be like, I bring awareness to you, you should immediately understand it. That just shows me how strong that they a grasp they have, and we gotta be mindful and forgive these people of the situation, because I had once laughed at flat earth, right? So
I think when it first came to me, I was like, I just finished 9/11, and it took me years to do that, and I just felt that I hadn't got to the end of that. And then suddenly I thought, no, I can't get into all that right now. No, no. And then this other person said, well, I'll debunk Nibiru and you debunk flat Earth. So I went to look at it, and after one video, water seats its level. That was it for me, and that's how I came into flat.
yeah, but I've found that I found a lot of things trying to debunk them or researching them, and then something switched where I am more concerned about just following my personal sun and moon passion. I often find that I don't want to argue with charlatans and shills and
Yeah, I don't have time for all that. I just like
yeah.
awake people myself. I prefer the awake people. I'm not into
Mhm.
debates and all that. I can't be bothered.
Yeah, I
It's
can't
bad
stand
enough,
it.
people around me, my own family, think I'm crazy. They just don't believe anything I say. So it's bad enough on them. I'm not now going to go out and have debates with people. I like awake people.
My family is starting to turn around though. My aunt sent me a picture the other day. Um, it's a picture. She was in Mexico on vacation, and it's a picture of the sun setting in front of a mountain, and it seems to be shining up the inside of the mountain in between her and the sunset. And she goes, "Doesn't it look like the sun's in front of this mountain?" And I just started laughing because she's like,
I
she's
don't think people realize how close everything is to us: the stars, the clouds, the sun, the
yeah.
moon.
I don't think people even realize how their eyesight works and how limited their perspective is. And
But
there's
when you believed it was 93 million miles away, you think that is 93 million. And now I think
yeah.
that's about a mile away.
Yeah, I'm like, man, it's on top of me. Like, Jesus. Like, sometimes it feels, I've thought a long and hard about this, at the closest distance that it'd probably be for you, to you. And I'm guessing I've felt anywhere between like 15 and 25 sometimes at the closest distance to me.
Well,
The
I did the thing where I suddenly, because what it was is the clouds look low. Not all the clouds, but there's a layer of
uh-huh.
clouds always low and
There's two
stands.
decks of clouds. There's two decks of clouds I've noticed, and they lie on two decks. Have you ever noticed that the bottom of the deck too, of all the clouds, are completely flat, like it's laying on some invisible glass window? Have you seen my video where I talk about that?
I haven't seen that one.
It's a great video. It's called the Invisible Glass Dome, I think. Let's see what I named it real quick.
I was into, I don't know if you've ever heard of Stan Smith. Stan Smith died. He died is it this year? God, it seems like ages ago, but he died. But he used to put the cameras up on his roof, and there were 360 cameras. And I was like, when I first saw his camera, just thinking it was in the roof, so he's a little bit further up, but the clouds, they just look so low. And then I flew somewhere and I thought, look how low the clouds are. I hadn't thought how low the clouds were. And then I did a video, I don't know, a couple of months ago, where these people had crawled up this sort of rock, and they were looking at clouds. So the rock was only half a mile big and the clouds were there. So I already know that the clouds are really low. But somebody the other day, Scarab, he said he had a laser pen and he reckoned they were only about 125 feet up. Because his laser pen and the beam on the laser pen.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I wanted to do an experiment. Now that we're talking about a laser pen, I wanted to take a concrete rock, put it in a bucket, and then at noon every day let it heat up for 10 minutes, and then laser thermostat the surface of the concrete to see if the beams of the sunlight changes day to day, like the
Oh,
heat. Yeah, I wanted to know if like the actual sunlight, the beams of the light change, if they're weaker or stronger from day to day, or if it's seasonal. That's what I want to learn, or if it's
Well, I have
weekly.
something for you. I have something for you, Preston.
Hmm. Hmm.
I've seen it loads of times. It's when I go to Silbury Hill. Like, Silbury Hill is a pyramid, okay? And if you imagine it's in a field, it takes up about a quarter of that field and it's on the right hand side at the back. But when you're
Hmm.
standing at the car park, 20 steps from the fence, 20, 30 steps from where you're going to see it in the corner, the thing now is 4 times the size it is. It's absolutely enormous in the car park. The top of it looks different to me, it looks different than when you're standing at the fence. But in that short period of time, I think, like you say, so that people will understand. Your son's in the background, Greg, making a little bit of noise. You said that he's autistic,
Oh
just so
yeah,
that people.
he's stimming. Yeah, he's 12-year-old autistic boy. So if you hear a noise in the background, he's stimming a little bit. I have my microphone settings up, but it's trash
That's okay.
mic.
Just in case people heard him, just so that they know. So, we can't do anything about that, and that's the way it is. But
Yep.
I couldn't believe that phenomenon. Like that's what people are capturing in their cameras when they say, I shouldn't be seeing these islands, and I can see them, and they're 200 miles away, but they're here. They can see them in their pictures. And it's the same thing happening, but it's happening on land. And Enslaved by No Media Channel, he did a lot about that. But
I thought about this once as a child, though. We used to go to the beach every year at Panama City Beach, and I used to stare into the horizon, and I always felt like I could. There's no islands anywhere near south of Panama City, and I felt like I could see islands in front of me, even though there's none. I
what would
don't.
that be? What would that have been then?
I don't know. I have no idea what it is. Maybe if there's nothing in front of you, it acts as if space, like they describe space, and what it's in front of you just gets eliminated as not there. Like,
Well, like
and
a camera, you mean, when you've got like
yeah, yeah,
wide awake filming, and then all the sea is compressed.
right. Like it's all counted as one um, molecule, I guess, or I don't know how to describe it. I'm not really. Yeah, yeah. It would all be everything invisible doesn't get picked up, so everything visible just gets picked up. So you're seeing more further distances because you're not picking up the invisible. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, but even, like when I put up your bit about the sunrise, a lot of
Mhm.
people don't realise. I saw it loads of times. In fact, I don't even understand it. I used to be driving to Newbury, which is about 3 miles away, in the winter, and I could see suddenly the sun would just disappear in front of me. And you can see it disappearing, and like you could see your sun coming in. It was like appearing in the sky at that point and with weird colours on it. I saw that in your video. And a lot of people don't realise that, in Thatcham, I can see it like 3 miles away from Newbury. It's hovering over the sky and it doesn't go to, it's hovering a lot at the moment. I don't know whether I've never noticed that before. And then it takes about half an hour and it disappears. Like it goes off quite fast, but it
Mhm.
stays there it's been there till about 8 o'clock at night. It's been right over Thatcham, which, like in the winter, it's not, it's over Newbury or seemingly over Newbury. It's really weird. I don't know if I can explain it.
Hmm. Is it like
And it's really high in the
early
sky,
winter?
like it's zenith time. It's not like on the horizon, it's right up in the sky.
At, like at the beginning of winter?
No, in the winter, it was going. I could see as I was driving to Newbury, I could see it. It was there, and then it wasn't there. It was. It didn't just. It didn't just fade off. It just disappeared, like your sun just appeared.
Right. I've had that happen a lot with the moon. It's
Is that because it can become? It's a bit like it comes. Whatever it is, it comes into your perspective. Whatever it is, if it's your mind doing it or whatever way, it just comes into your perspective at that point.
it's hard to say. Um, I'm having trouble picturing what you're saying.
Well, what I was saying was, in winter, I saw it disappearing over Newbury, but I actually live in this place called Thatcham, which is about 3 miles away. And
Mhm.
when I was in this shop a couple of times late at night, about 8 o'clock at night, I could see the sun, right up in the sky, really high, but it's 8 o'clock at night. Surely I thought it should be over Newbury, like seemingly, because we don't quite know how far away it is and how far you're seeing, but it's there. It's like it's shining into the shop at 8 o'clock at night, and then it goes off quick, and I was like, wow, I didn't know the sun hung around like that. But I'm in a different place.
So yeah, I get what you're saying now, and you're seeing it like set over Newbury, but the people in Newbury don't see the sun right on top of them. They see it setting too. Like,
yeah, they would, but in Thatcham,
yeah.
the sun, and what I'm saying is I'm in a different place. We're in the summer now, but I was really shocked to see it right over Thatcham. I thought it'd be heading like seemingly over, over there, but it wasn't. It's right high up, and it was shining into the shop, and I was like, it's 8 o'clock at night. I didn't know the sun hung around. I just felt like this last few weeks. I mean, we can't now because it's got cloudy this last few days, and we don't get many days of sun. But we had a really, really hot week, probably hotter than you. It was so hot. I thought I was melting. The sun was hanging around. I'll have to check it. I will be checking it again.
Yeah, I wonder if they like make it cloudy in England on purpose. I wonder about that.
Yeah, because we'd be able to see things properly here, I think. I mean, I know this is hard for everybody. I did a map the other day where I actually felt that, maybe there are corners, and Alaska would be one, South America's one, South Africa's one, and Australia and New Zealand are the other one. But I think, the Big Dipper, for instance, your stars at all. The Big Dipper goes round my house.
Right. Well, it goes from it rises northeast of you, right? Like, and then it sets northwest of you. It stays at your northern compass all the time. It moves across the northern sky.
That's not how I see it. That's not how I see it.
I see it do this across my sky, just like this.
No, I don't. I see it going over. Well, it changed a bit, but it's come back now. The timing changed, but now it's back, and we do know the stars move a bit faster. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know, but it goes across my house. Like if I'm in the garden, my front garden, it'll go across my house from what's that? North south, and it's going north, but it's not quite a box. And then it goes down into the corner of my close, and then it starts going up, 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 up. It goes up, and then it turns around again, and it goes across the sky, turns around again. And then I've never seen it over the last part because daylight, one way or another, is always here, winter and summer. But it is not flat. It's like level going across my house on the left, and by the time it's got to the other side,
in the summertime, it's at its most northern track. It'll be more on top of you, and this equinox, it's like this, and then wintertime, it's out lower to the north. So if you're facing north,
I don't see it like that.
It goes like this during the summer, like that during equinox, and like that during the wintertime. But it rotates.
I don't know if I see that, Preston, because I've seen it go around my house, but then in the summer I can see it for longer, and in the winter I can't. But because it gets darker earlier,
right. Well, that's what I'm saying. You see it longer in the summer because it's at a more higher position above you.
So you're facing around. In the winter, I see it coming up at the corner, but in the summer,
what I'm saying is it's on 3 different tracks, just like the sun, moon, and stars. So you're facing north. The summer track is where all the stars are more on top of you. So that's why you see more of it during the summer. Equinox track, it'll be more at an angle this.
I understand that, but if you
and the winter track is its lowest track towards the north, is when it's most northern.
Because otherwise I'd be inside the sort of square. It's not quite a square, but that shape. But it's seemingly, like from your perspective, the last part, it goes over my house. But what I'm saying is the thing goes around my house, and then it goes over my house and around my. I'm like, I went to Denmark. It was going over there in a field, going round and round. It wasn't going over my friend's house. It was like quite a way over there, and Denmark's supposed to be norther, so I found that very strange. It was smaller and over there in her house when she's norther than me, and yet for me, it goes around my house. So I think what I'm trying to say was, I just think you're right about why they give us so many clouds.
Yeah, I just still think it's still a biological compass. So whatever you're seeing, it's still centered to a directional compass for each observer. So
I mean, I don't think people realize, like, everybody thinks all the stars go round. I've got stars which go from right to left. I've got this Big Dipper going round. I've got stars which go north to south. They're all doing their own thing.
Well, yeah, there's constant stars, fixed stars, and wandering stars.
And
Uh,
also, I know that this might be a bit different, Preston.
and
It
Ezekiel's
hasn't
will
been.
says
It, has,
we have our own stars as well. So
this hasn't been recently. It was a few years ago. They told me that when it's on the cusp of Cancer and the cusp of Capricorn on the moon cycle, that the moon did things. They said go and watch, and I did twice in 1 month. I saw the moon come in, looking seemingly going south but going west as well. It picked up the stars and it brought them back, and then it went off west like a heartbeat. I saw it twice, but even if I'd filmed it, it would have been meaningless. I needed Stan's 360 camera to show you what the moon was doing. I'm just so surprised other people haven't picked up on this. The moon is doing things with the stars. The moon does a lot more. It's like, when they said the moon runs the tides. That, I think the tides are electrical.
yeah,
Just an electricity we can go in. It's all happening electrically wise, and I just find it all incredible that the moon and the sun are doing opposite things to what they're saying.
yeah. Everything's taught to us upside down and backwards, right? So
Yeah, that's why I liked your explanation of the moon. Remember, you said, I remember your video. I put it on a specific video, and you're going, it's like patchwork up there.
I remember saying that. That's funny.
It's
Yeah,
like
they.
the material being sewn together.
I remember one night that I I could literally see the moon. It looked like somebody was pushing it through the ether and dragging it through the sky. It looked like somebody was holding the top of it. It was the strangest thing I ever witnessed in my life, and I just sat there and stared at it for hours. With it, I miss living in Mississippi though, because I could see every star in the sky. But I remember why you're saying something about the stars and the moon. I have seen like stars. Seems like they travel. Some of them will tag along with the moon, like it'll pull it with it or something. I've seen Jupiter. I have a video of a time lapse with
Oh
Jupiter
yeah, because
travel.
it does do that. Yeah, see, those ones are different when the moon's got a certain star around it going around. People don't think about it, but I saw it pick up a section of the sky and like a clock and move it round. And of course, I just think it helps change the seasons.
Well, there's a lot of invisible fields that we don't see, and I know a lot of people don't believe in this, but I think if you take, I have seen these fields when I've been on psychedelics. So, and I've seen them, and I know a lot of people are against them, but you can see things in the sky that you can't sober when you take psychedelics. And yeah, I've seen energy fields. I've seen like ether fields, star fields. I've seen stars connect with lines like a big spider web. I've seen.
Yeah, well, that's another thing. It's on
Mhm.
everything is on tracks up there.
Yep. Yeah, I've seen crazy things. One night, me and my wife were just camping out in the woods in the country, and we saw one star splash, and it shoot a beam of light and hit another star, and it splash. And where in any kind of science would that make sense in mainstream science?
I've seen stars move around in the sky. I was watching it, and
Hmm.
I'm not saying it moved that far, but it moved across the sky. I saw it.
Yeah. So it's pretty crazy. It does seem like, but there are also, so you got this small rotation. If you record the stars on a time lapse, they all rotate, make a perfect little circle around your head. So if you were to record a time lapse all night, it's making this perfect circle around your head. And then you imagine that your circle of sight is very limited. You take a Nikon P900, which has a very limited zoom in retrospect to trillions of miles, and you're able to zoom in on all these stars that are doing it right above your head. And then you imagine somebody outside of your circle of sight, and that experience is happening to them. So if they're projected from yourself, that's more or less what I'm trying to get to. They have to have some purpose other than just being a compass as well. That's my
Can I say
thought.
one more thing to you? It's just come into my mind, right?
Hmm.
And even though I understand that bit about the whole world is made individually for you, I get that. We've
Yeah.
talked about
Hmm.
that before. But one day I was at work, right? This is a few years ago, and I saw the moon there, and like I'm always looking up. When I stop up at my places, I always look up, especially if it's nighttime. Anyway, the moon was there, and then when I came out of work about an hour and a half later, the moon wasn't there. I had to drive over these hills, and then they're not the biggest of hills. When I got to the brow of the hill, as I came over the top, there was the moon, and the moon was lower than me in the valley. So it had gone on its track, whatever track it was, and it was lower than me. And then obviously it was meeting this track which goes west, or what seemingly we call west. I saw it. It travelled like about 6 miles in an hour and a half. If I can't see it, and it takes me 6 miles to see the moon, how could someone in Birmingham or London or somewhere else be seeing it?
And it already appears to be like right over the top of the land that you're on. Like it's in your circle of sight. I've noticed like sometimes like in the most northern positions, it hangs for a long time. And then once it gets to a setting or a rising position, it rises and sets real quickly. Like it'll just move
Yeah, that's
faster.
what I was saying about the sun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sun does right. I'm not saying the winter. I'm going to keep an eye on it now, and I know this, but in the summer, that's what happens. It's there for a long time. I actually thought it was just traveling across the sky, but it hangs around and then it goes off really quickly.
Yeah, the moon sets super quickly. If you ever get a long view of the moon while it's setting full, like right after the full moon, there's those days where it's setting right when the sun's rising. It sets so quickly, it's incredible. Like it'll be just there, and all of a sudden it'll be gone. Like what happened? You'll be looking at it, and it'll just disappear.
I know
it's incredible.
I think it's crazy. I call it crazy. Anyway, I've talked about a few. I call it crazy.
It's magical.
Well, it must be, yeah. And the bit I don't quite get is that my office, I face east. Well, so what they're saying is east, and it does come up there.
That's biological east. That's what I call it.
Well, but for a long time, especially as all this stuff when I was awake, and the fact I always stay up late. When you're a truther, you're always up late doing videos or watching or whatever. And I quite often see the sun come in and everything. And for the first 3 or 4 years, the moon was a lot outside my house, and then more. I could see the more north it got, the better weather we got, and stuff like that. But the stars changed in the sky. This last few years, the moon is hardly ever outside my house anymore, and it's sort of so to perspective, because we don't quite know how far it is, and up there it's obviously it can be seen for further, can't it? But the road, after the road, I call those the winter settings, and over the road where I am is the summer settings. Well, if I say I go out in my car or something like that, and I think, oh, there's the moon, it's over there, so it's over the road. It's more right now in the winter settings, what I call southern, but we've got nice weather. So I thought the more north the moon went, the better weather we got. But it's not true. It's not true at all. I don't quite get it. I thought I got it, and then I haven't got it.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that so since the sun and the moon are all connected to each of us, and there's a certain level of electricity that happens for each of us, and our energies that we give off every day are connected to the sky individually and collectively, and we create all the weather, everything that's going on. We are the light and consciousness.
How does that work with England being covered in we're all seeing that cloud? Not just like one person gets a sunny day and one person. I'm not saying that the weather like James is in Scotland, the weather could be different up there.
Well, the clouds that we are seeing are all pretty close to us.
My daughter's still seeing, and whoever's around me still sees the same clouds. It's not like it's sunny for one person and cloudy for the other. So how does that work then? We must be all seeing the same things.
No, we're not even close to seeing the same things. The clouds that you're seeing right above you, I'm like somebody 5 miles from you isn't seeing the same clouds as you.
That's true. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So
just very quickly, as I've thought of something else. Have you seen those videos with those little things flying all around the sun? I've done videos on it. I've got it off of Robert, who's seen it. And then this woman a few weeks ago on Sun and Moon, she saw them in the clouds. And it was really weird because she said, do you see that little mark on my screen? She said, I moved the camera around and the mark goes with me. But when she went back, the thing on her screen.
Lens flares.
No, the thing on her screen started flying.
Oh, I haven't seen any of that.
That was
I've
bizarre. I don't know what they are, but a lot of people say, "Oh, those are TR3Bs up there." But when you realise the sun's not very far away, not in your perspective, then those things that are flying around, they're not that far away either. But I don't see the things I've caught on my camera. I put them out on a video also a few weeks ago. I never saw them. What it is everybody who's caught those pictures and me, we caught them in our cameras. We didn't see them. So those things could be there all the time. We're not seeing them. We're only seeing them in our cameras.
They're your own little fairies floating around, I guess.
That's my bit of it, because you just don't see them, but people are catching them on their cameras.
Fairies do exist.
I don't know what they are. It's almost as if, why do they have to be all around the sun? They're not going into the sun. They're flying all around it.
I'm not sure. I've never. Yeah, you'd have to link me something. I'd have to look at what you're saying and see it. And once you say something, I might become aware of it, and I might start seeing it. But
I
I'm
don't know
not.
where it is. That video somewhere on sun and moon. I don't know. I did those videos years ago.
I remember seeing some stuff on the moon with like little men flying around it or something. It seemed really like bogus and far-fetched a long time ago. So I generally just try to stay what I see and perceive. I haven't seen anything like that though. I've
And
seen the
also,
little
like
camera flares.
if you don't see the moon, all it is it's a mile or two away. Because you can drive somewhere. Oh, there's the moon. It's here today. I know you said that it's mostly in your horizon, like your circle of lights sight. But
Right.
sometimes when it isn't, it's only miles away. It's not thousands, hundreds of miles away. It's still quite local. It's just on a different track for a few days.
Possibly. I just think it's all the lights are your biological clock. So if you're not seeing it, then you're not supposed to be seeing it at the time.
I just
Kind of.
wonder, like with what we're living in, one day someone went poof, it's all fallen down, and this is really what you're living in. We wouldn't like it. I just don't think we'd like it.
I don't know. I kind of like this place. I'm starting to accept my reality and the life that's been put before me.
Oh, Preston, I love you.
So, um,
No matter that the road is very hard and it's always pebbly, and you've got to get over the big boulders.
yeah, they're not boulders anymore though. To me, they're just what I've manifested and created, I think. And so I've gotten to this point where I've realized that I've made every decision to be at this moment here in my life talking to you, right? So this is where I'm supposed to be, and every decision that I've ever made wrong, right, I have accepted. So that's the mindset that I've started.
Oh, I love you, Preston. That's a good place to be,
So
Preston.
yeah, it's really helped me move forward and focus more on my passion. So
I'm not here to be guilty all the time and being, punished all the time. So I get that. Well done, Preston. But then maybe
yeah,
that's because you've sort of got more spiritual and stuff.
yeah, I've gotten really more spiritual since I started doing all my observations, because I had science bring me away from God, and then I've had my observations bring me back to God. And so I've stuck with objective reality, things that I can prove on my firsthand experience, and all of it disagrees with everything I've ever been taught. So it's led me back to being a spiritual human being, and all my observations have led many, many people, all my subscribers and friends on Facebook, all my social media accounts have brought religious content back to me, showing me how my observations match all their religious books. So, yeah, it's been quite the journey over the past 6-7 years.
It's
And
not an easy one, though, is it? Because obviously you're married and you've got
it
children.
gets
You've got that
easier. It
part.
gets
But
easier.
when you start, what I mean is when you start, you think, oh, here's this subject. And then it goes into this and this and this and this. And by the time we finish, you've got 1,000 jigsaw puzzles to put together. It is quite a mammoth thing, isn't it? Because it's to do
Well,
with
it's something we should be being taught as
everything.
children, right? We should be taught the natural world as children from our own parents, but we're not. We're taught it from like a school system that is trying to pull the wool over your eyes, and they aren't even aware of it. So, yeah, you have to unlearn everything, and then you have to relearn the natural world around you because you don't know how your eyes work or
And
your
in it,
senses
they've
work.
got lots of believers. They believe the system, but they don't realize it's a constructed system made for you to cover up everything that's really happening.
Yeah, there's literally a scientific explanation for every phenomena or everything that they can't prove. They can't test and repeat in front of you. It's just a bunch of definitions and string theory explanations. So it's
Mm.
really frustrating.
But the strange thing is, we all kind of woke up at the same time.
That is weird, right? I think 9/11 was the big one, right? Like you said earlier, um, it you're gonna go down paths, and we all knew that there's bigger lies. So once you figure out that 9/11's a lie, you're like, what else are they lying to me about? And so I'm just glad that I ran into
Also, what helped us as
God.
well, I
Right?
think, the film Gravity came out.
Yeah.
So what it is people saw that and then thought, that looks better than going to the moon. But realizing that that's what it was, because they showed you how they blank things out, and then she's sort of on strings going through, and then the finished thing, she's in a spacecraft in the middle of space, flying, no gravity, flying, through the spaceship. And
Mhm.
and I think that changed people's minds a bit.
Yeah, I just with the whole space shuttle thing, I just don't see how people like bring awareness to it and then not wake up to the simple
Other
things of
things.
like how is a spaceship flying in a vacuum anyway? You know, and then they'll use vacuum chambers as an instance to show you a gravity and how it all
Oh, and do
works.
you know what they say now? They say as the sky goes up, it just turns into a vacuum. That's what they say now.
Once it gets to a certain point, it turns into a vacuum.
It just turns into a vacuum. There's no
Hmm.
boundary. It just slow, whatever, however it does in so many feet, turns into a vacuum.
So if it's a vacuum, how do these? Why aren't the astronauts getting sucked away when they leave the ship? Or
Well,
why
that's the thing that really gets me, because if you go and actually look it up,
aren't?
even
Why
if,
isn't the spaceship
even,
getting sucked away?
even if you could get in the vacuum and be in it, the moment you came out, you just everything would explode. So it's just ridiculous.
And I don't get how there's aren't they supposed to be in direct sunlight in outer space where it's like 3,000 degrees hotter? Wouldn't everything we have just melt or something
Also,
like that?
well, the closer you get to the sun, I don't think the sun is hot. I just think with whatever we're living in, by the time it hits us on the ground here, it's hot. But it isn't hot
Yeah,
at
it's
yours.
like a lamp. You sit under it longer, the hotter you get. But there's more atmosphere the lower you get, so there's more particles that getting heated up from the ground. That's why the higher you go, there's less particles. It's cooler because there's nothing being heated up. So the sun needs to heat
Otherwise, the top
particles
of
up.
Everest, we'd be going
Yeah,
on holiday to the top of Everest to do some sunbathing, wouldn't we?
yeah. There's no atmosphere up there, so that's why it's cold. So um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's funny when you start learning real science. You're like, duh, that's obvious. It's just a lot of the funny things that are completely obvious to you whenever your eyes will open up. So
What does your wife think about it all? She in with you?
she she's she she agrees with me. She listens to me. She lets me do all the research and stuff. She more stays focused on the kids and the house and work and family and stuff like that. She's not really into the whole conspiracy stuff, so she's into it. She listens to me. She watches my videos and things like that, but outside of us, we don't. She doesn't participate.
Yeah, because I suppose it is a really hard thing, isn't it? We're living in a place where about 90, well, maybe hopefully less than that now, but a lot of people believe in it. So you've got
Mhm.
to sort of live in it. But I wish that we didn't.
Yeah, my foster mom is starting to pick up on some of the observations. I've told a lot of my family. Uh, yeah, at first I felt like when I first woke up to knowledge that I was driving a lot of my family away and my friends away by being so aggressive with the knowledge. Right now, I'm just more focused on those relationships, and if the conversations do come up, then I talk about it. I think a lot of us force our own lives upon people when we wake up to knowledge, and then we wonder why they don't want to talk to us. It's because um, we've kind of like brainwashed ourselves in the echo chamber where that's all we want to talk about, rather than like, how are you, how are the kids, how's your life, how are you physically doing. There's no humane contact there. It's kind of like, you're brainwashed, you won't, like, they're like, well, you just won't have a normal conversation, all you want to talk about is the earth. So I've gotten.
My kids have done that to me a bit, but the people that I would want to know the truth would be them, my children, and they're not interested. But my son said one thing. He said, this whole place, my eldest son, he said, this place we live in is a material place, and until they change that, that's how we're going to be. But a lot of people quite like the material way. I've got a nice big house, a nice car. They like material things.
Well, I think the material way is okay. That
But I
we.
think you can have it all, to be honest. You can be
I think you're
spiritual
supposed
and
to.
have money.
I think God made this place for you to succeed physically, mentally, and spiritually, and that all of us should be living in a utopia. I honestly believe that, and that there's no reason that I shouldn't be able to have all of, all of God's graces, and
I kind of
everybody should be
believe
living that
that
way.
too. If it's your choice, you want to be poor and all that and do it, fine. But money is not the problem. Money is not evil. It's the people are.
Right. Correct. It's kind of like guns don't kill people, people kill people. Money doesn't do that either. It can be used for good as well as it can be harm. And just because, who are you going to help being broke? What example are you going to set having nothing? Who's going to listen to you when you have nothing? That we aren't in the world of
I just
Jesus of
think it was a
Nazareth.
bit more of a,
So
it's used more as a medium. Money is an exchange of medium. But money is
right.
God now. That's the sad bit. That's the bit where instead of it, okay, I'm going to buy a meal or I need to pay my bills, fine. It's exchange of medium. Now it's God.
Mm-hmm.
It's an ego thing.
Yeah, a little bit. At first I was talking about Finry, my friend with this. We talk about this a lot, is how when you first woke up to the movement that they demonize money and having materialism, and I was almost afraid to go work in the oil field or do anything that was, regardless of what I viewed as negative, or I had all these demonizations around money, and that it was making me a shitty person. And just, I had these available options to me to succeed, but I wasn't taking them because of these demonizations that were put before me. And I need to provide for myself and family just as everybody else does, and that world's going to keep revolving with or without me, so I might as well take that and use what I can. So
What you mean is you can fight against a lot of things, but you just can't fight against everything. We still
right,
tell our truths, don't we?
right. So, and it's the same. It's kind of like speaking onto deaf ears. It's wasting time. So, and it like blah blah blah. What was I gonna say? Yeah, like with the deaf ear thing, there's a lot of time wasting going on, and I think we get better at who we're talking to, who we're not talking to, and sorting out what's best for each one of us as far as our lifestyles. So
What's that thing on the map behind? It's like a map behind you on the wall. What's that, Preston?
um so I was discussing the sun's rotation yesterday, because every day it comes up like this is northeast, that's east, north, south, west. And I was just describing how the sun, I recorded it coming up at 6:16 on June, and then a month later I recorded it coming up 20 minutes later, and then I guess in August it'll come up 20 minutes later now, and when it's time to go back it'll rise at 7:16. And so it's rising 20 minutes later, 30 days later. Um, so
Oh,
it has its own natural, um, what do you call that? Your own natural daylight savings time. There's a
right.
natural daylight savings time built within its own circuit. So the lights in the sky are on a circuit, and time isn't real because the sun's not on a exact 24-hour timer. It's slightly longer than 24 hours. So that's, the world was built so you could prove that the creation exists. That's my personal opinion. And God's left all these breadcrumbs for you to, hey, look, this is proof that it's not whatever you're saying it is. And this is proof that you're inside of a creation. So, and all the lights that you see are on an individual timer. See, I consider the compass, the east, northeast, southwest, is the legend across, right? And all the lights in the sky are your own biological clock. And they're always small, close, and local to you when you see them. So, and depending on where you are, you'll experience them at different angles and different positions. And some lights are of the earth and not of you. So that's why you'll see certain lights like the aurora borealis and certain phenomena, eclipses are of the regions and not of you. So
I was thinking the light comes now in June before the equinox. The light is here at 3:30 in the morning. It goes about 10:30. It's really nearly dark, but the last piece of light goes about 11 o'clock at night, and then it's back at 3:30 in the morning, and then the sun comes about an hour later, so 4:30, 5:30. Comes earlier than yours.
when does the sun rise?
But now we're changing again. It's getting later, like you said. It's getting late. The season's changing.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah,
So,
the sun's rotation is constant. So like it'll be like each day it's going to be rising slightly further behind. And there's 3 tracks. So I was explaining this to somebody. Let me not pull up my. Like it doesn't go from here to here to here to here. Like it went to summer solstice, and it stays here, and it rises from this position every day until it hops back to the equinox. See, they teach you in globe science that there's 3 lines, right? And that it hops, that it slowly travels from tropic to tropic, and these are invisible lines, but it doesn't. It there's only 3 tracks, and one day in fall it'll just magically rise directly east from you, your biological east. It's not rising from the equator. It's rising directly east of you, which isn't directly east of me, isn't towards the equator. It's
I
not.
wish I could grab you here for a few days, though, to show you, right?
I wish I could. I wish I could.
It's a bit like if you got like a ruler and put it down the road. We're talking of like if you could do it aerially. So you've got a road, you put the ruler on it, and then on top of that you put a semicircle. And in the winter, the sun comes up on the right of the semi. Like what do you call them in your school kit? You get the semicircle, and you can do all your things on it. It goes naught to whatever it is. What's that? Half a semicircle. What's a whole semicircle? 360. That's 90 degrees. Then you know what I mean, with the little lines on it, and you do all your maths on it. Well, in the winter it comes up on the right hand side of it, and in the summer it comes up on the left. It always goes in a straight line on a track, and it usually meets the road. It never goes over my house. It always goes over the road.
Well, that's what I was doing this for.
It goes on a track.
Yeah, for winter, this is the southern track.
One second, Preston. Speak a bit more. That's it.
So the winter time, right?
1 second. Let me put the camera on you because it's messing around. Hang on 1 second. Right, it's on you now. Carry on.
All right. Yeah.
It's a little bit distant though because you're moving around. It doesn't want to focus on that board very well.
All right.
Right, we can see that.
All right. This is east, right? And say you're facing east. This is your equinox track for the moon, for the moon and the sun, for your moon and your sun.
Yeah.
For summertime, this is north of you, right? Northeast. Yeah. That's where the sun rises and sets. Mm-hmm. And for the wintertime, it does this. And the moon's the exact opposite. So they just swap places. So that's where the moon's right now. That's the track. And that's the track of the sun. And then the equinox, they'll both be here. And then they swap places for winter and summer.
Well, I've been noticing that the moon was in front of the sun. And then a few weeks later, I noticed the moon was behind the sun.
Yeah, well, the sun, it's like the tortoise and the hare. The sun is much, much faster than the than the moon. It appears to be like, so I have to do a huge sit down one day about all the moon because there's more stuff I found out about every day. You ever notice when it first pops up, it's right crescent out to your west, right?
Yeah.
And the sun is setting beyond it. And the next day, the moon will be slightly higher in the sky, and it'll pop up, and the sun will be out west of it. And then the next day, it'll pop up one more time out west. It just magically pops up out west its first 3 days, and then you'll see it every day. The sun slowly catch it and pass it.
I sort of
What?
know what you mean. When it does that, here
Mm-hmm.
right now, those moons are absolutely enormous. You know, the same thing like you went, poof, the thing would fall out of the sky. It's enormous. Is
Mm-hmm.
that because it's coming up when we're seeing it? It's coming up lower, you know, and I said I saw that moon going up into the clouds. So when we're spotting it, it's lower and it's bigger.
I think it's further away from you. When it's further away from you, it looks larger because of the magnification of maybe the
Really?
atmosphere. Um, it's hard to say because it does look so much bigger away from you than close to you, and I wonder why that is.
But I just think, you know, once you realise that everything's on tracks and it's doing its own thing, and, you know, they're lying and pretending that other things are doing it, or we're floating through space or whatever it is, all these things are doing things above you. And that's probably changing all our weather and doing things. Maybe they've learned how to control the stars.
Um, see, see, I think that's all individual, so it'd have to. Maybe they're doing a mass meditation. Maybe there's something going on there. Maybe they have a huge cult doing some kind of mass meditation that affects the sky. I would lean more towards something like that. I don't think they're solid objects. I think personally they're small, close, and local to everybody. So when like the conspiracy that Bill Gates is trying to blot out the sun, they'd have to blot out the entire Earth to be able to blot out the sun for everybody because it's local to the observer. So you would have to blot out. You'd have to make clouds literally all over every single plot of Earth to block out the sun for everybody at noon, and that's not possible. It's just not possible. So unless man flooded the world the first time with machines, and we weren't aware of it, so kind of thought a lot about that. So yeah, these bad men and the weather changers.
Yeah, it is all a bit crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, have you ever thought about that? That maybe we possibly flooded the world the first time?
Well, I know that a bit of land next to England's called Doggerland. I'm not quite sure about, because some people say it's Atlantis, whatever. It's got trees down there. And then when you're in the Bay of the Bay of Mexico? That's right, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
There's trees out there in the water, and they've not rotted, and neither of the ones in Doggerland. And they're saying that they're thousands of years old, but they can't because they've not rotted. The wood has not rotted, and they've kind of sort of petrified down there. And
They're
so
underwater?
they're in water, so they're lying about, well, global warming. That whole thing's a lie, because this woman said the water comes, the water goes, land comes, land goes. But they're putting it that those trees are 550,000 years old, when I think that they're only probably a couple of hundred years old down
See,
there.
I wonder how they could. I know they say carbon dating, but I don't know if I just trust all those machines saying things are that old. I just don't. Like,
I
I
don't.
don't. Yeah, I don't believe in that. All that.
It's really
Like,
crazy because I had a hangout with Brian Forrester, who realizes that there's something wrong, and he's starting to get teams of people together because it's a bit like everywhere he goes about the elongated headed people, where he's hitting brick walls now. He's not getting them to admit what they are. So he now's deciding to do it himself. But it's we need people to be doing this. We need more people to be doing it because it's all such a lie.
yeah. But you keep bringing up how what you're experiencing and witnessing. And I do think the lights that you're projecting and seeing are of the. It's a collective experience of the Earth and you. While I do think they're personal, you see different experiences based off where you are. So you might be
Do you sometimes
experiencing
do you
something
sometimes
different
feel
than me.
it's microwave as well? Sorry, I butted in then. But do you feel sometimes like I was sitting here looking at the temperatures when it was a bit hotter, And I'm thinking, it can't be 25 degrees. It feels like it's 50 or 60. It's like it's so hot. You're just burning up. I know that a breeze can make a difference. But
Hmm.
some of the temperatures we were getting, they were saying it was 20 odd degrees. Well, it felt a lot hotter than that.
I've noticed that too. During sometimes during like winter time, they'll say it's real cold, and I'll be like, it feels warm, or and vice versa. And have you ever also noticed that like a winter day will be colder than the winter night? Have you ever noticed that? Like the same 24 hours, you'll get a cold winter day, and then that night will be warmer than the day was. But isn't it supposed to be heated up by the sun, right? So why is that night warmer than the day?
Mm. Yeah, I think
That's one.
I've noticed things like that
That's
myself.
one thing that I noticed when I first woke up. Because the thing about the track every day, right? Say you're going from, say the sun's supposed to be coming north for the summer and it's winter time. Shouldn't it literally get warmer every single day of the year until it gets north of you and then stay hot and then get colder every day? That's it, but it doesn't. It's a seasonal thing, and all the days
Well,
aren't
they did
constant.
say that the sun isn't really hot heat. It's only hot once it's gone through an effect down here. But yeah, then yeah, that's what that is, isn't it? But
So,
that means that something else is happening. I mean, we all woke up and realized that the sunlight was different to the sun.
mhm,
The light is here before the sun, and
right.
off
That's what
here
the
when
Bible
the
says.
sun's not. Yeah.
Let
So
there be
maybe
light.
the seasons are happening like that. And I mean, like even in Canada, they get up to 40, 50 degrees. Oh, sorry, you're Fahrenheit, but it
Hmm.
gets high. Greenland's about the same temperature as us, but they don't talk about that. It just doesn't last as long. So they can
Right.
get in the 20s. We're supposed to have it, say, for 4 or 5 months. They get it for 2 months. That's the same with Canada. It gets really hot there for 2 or 3 months of the year. And Sweden's the same. And they're
It's
north.
Yeah, it's like they have their own. Every bit of land has their own field, or terra firma has its own energy, magnetic heat settings of its own. And I think all the lights in the sky, their position and angle that you're seeing them, lets you know what air condition and heat setting that you're in. If that makes sense. The lower angle you see them um, at certain times of year, the hotter it will be. The higher you see them, you know, like if you were to lock me in a room for 10 years and let me come out and not tell me anything, I could give me 1 month. I could tell you what time of year it was just based off the lights in the sky, without any temperature either. You just put me out and let me look at the lights for a minute. I could tell you where I was and what time of year it was. So,
This whole thing, when you said about the clouds and then it looks
mhm.
like they're flat on the bottom, they even
Right.
amazed me that they could be up there. They're like, supposing they're full of water and they could be
That's
really
insane.
heavy.
Mhm. All right. I had another theory on this, that there's the water, the clouds come to collect all the pollution. And then once the clouds have built enough not solid, but enough of a barrier on top of the invisible glass ceiling, that's when the rain comes from heaven. And then it comes from an invisible realm or dimension, and the rain comes from another place. It comes from heaven. It doesn't come from Earth. There's not. Have you ever just sat and wondered how much rain is in the sky for it to be coming down this hard and for this long? It rained for like 2 months in a row in Texas, and I just kept thinking, there's no way that there's that much rain in the sky. It's not possible. Like, and it just keeps forming and forming and forming up out of nowhere. They kept spraying our skies, and they had huge droughts in other parts of our country because they kept spraying our skies. And I'm just like, why are they? How is there this much
Hmm.
rain in the sky? And so on my invisible glass ceiling video, you will see I travel all over northeast of Dallas, and I speed it up, and every cloud, as far as eyes can see, you can literally sit them on a pancake, and they're supposed to, all the gray matter is on the dark gray matter is on the bottom of the cloud,
Yeah, I was
and
just noticing that. That's
some of them
exactly
will
what
get huge, and they won't fall until they're ready to burst with rain. And then you're going to tell me that there's enough rain there to rain for 2 days. I think it comes from somewhere else. The
I did see a
cloud.
few videos where there was no clouds in the sky and it was raining.
Oh, when I first woke up to flat Earth, right? I was walking down the street with Charlotte. When she was a baby. I was pushing her in a jogging stroller, and I got past the gas station, and all of a sudden it just started raining on me. There wasn't a single cloud in the sky, and it was just on top of me, like it was uh, like a
Yeah,
cartoon.
that's what
I
these
swear to
videos
you, it
are
was
about.
like,
Like
what is
it's
going
like
on?
someone's train has gone mad, but it isn't anybody. It's not coming from a building. It's coming from the sky, and people are filming it.
Yeah, I got rained on without a single cloud in the sky, and it happened to me twice since I woke up, and it just blew my mind. And I just sat there and laughed. I probably looked crazy with just standing and looking up, laughing. So
Preston, we've been going for an hour. Obviously,
mhm.
I've butted in a bit on this conversation, but is there anything else you'd like to talk about as you're here?
No, just want everybody to start observing the sky more and pay attention to their eyesight and not other people's. Um, trust themselves, what they're seeing, share those thoughts, blog them. You know, um, yeah, start thinking about how your eyesight works, how far you can see, how you're witnessing the clouds hit the angle, the
How
sunlight,
far do
and
you think we can see then?
at the most, the clearest of day, I'd probably say 100 miles, and it depends on the structure too in front of you. Um, maybe if there was one of the largest mountains in front of you in the yonder, I guess you would say, you'd probably be able to see that pretty far. But if there's nothing like that, no structure, 100 miles. Um, but it'd have to be a large structure for you to be able to see it. Other than that, I think most atmosphere at a completely flat zone now at about 50 to 100 miles. Now, if there's lights in the distance and it's completely dark where you are, you'd probably be able to see that from a far distance as well. I've seen Kennesaw Mountain from 70 miles away. I've seen mountains and bright city lights. If you were like in the dark distance and you were looking into a bright city, I think you'd be able to see that from a far distance. Um, but yeah, I think
I did another
normally and
video.
naturally you're looking at about 40 miles. You're looking at about 40 miles on
I did
an
another video
average
from
day.
months ago because you know how big they say Mount Everest is, and any picture you ever see that looks quite crystal clear, you're looking at it, and they
Mm-hmm.
always get the whole mountain in, but that mountain is 3 miles big. I mean, drive 3 miles, it's quite big. I'm just thinking if you were, like I have that bit from here to Newbury is 3 miles, so from here to Newbury, that's how
Mm-hmm.
big that mountain is. But you can see it. So in the same sense, you're looking at compressed snow on there because it's so far. The thing is so big, and you're looking at it in a picture. Then all that
Mm-hmm.
is compressed snow, and it started to blow my mind. And I'm thinking, if we were standing at the bottom of Everest, I'm sure I wouldn't, because they say we can only see for 3 miles, then I wouldn't be able to see the top of the mountain. But you're
Right.
thinking, I mean, we know we can see farther, but
Yeah, you
maybe
can
not
see
all
Everest
people.
for like a very far away. I know mountains that you can see much further than almost anything. So, uh,
Mm.
yeah, but keep watching my channel though. I'm gonna keep doing observations and experiments. I'm getting closer to the multiple perspective observations, which prove more. And I want more people to think outside of their own perspective. Take your perspective also, and try to imagine, envision somebody else's when you're picturing the personal sun, moon, and star theory, because it's hard to envision it unless you're looking at it from multiple perspectives and even triangulate that perspective. Like you'll soon see that you're witnessing your own lights in the sky. So
So what happens when you don't see them? I'm saying I don't want to see the moon, but when I come out of my house, it's
mhm.
across the road. So how does that work then? Because it is there, but I don't see it in my perspective in my office anymore. So how does that work then?
Well, it's blocked by your terrain or whatever is in front of you.
Yeah, it's now like it's not. It doesn't come up outside my window. It's coming up a bit more south. But when I go out at night time, there's the moon.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've never been to England, but I'm sure your light setting is based. So it's at a southern angle right now because it's summertime. for the
Well, it should
north.
be in the north, though. I was first,
No,
you know, like
the
a few years
moon is
ago.
north for the winter. The moon is south for the summer.
Not in my sky, it wasn't. It wouldn't stay there for like weeks on end, but you'd suddenly see it and it was going, say it was level with me, I'd be seeing it go up, go up, go up, go up, stay there, and then the next day it'd be south again. It's most bizarre, the moon. It jumps all over the place.
I don't know. It's always been pretty constant for me. The three tracks. What I've
You live in a
experienced is,
much bigger country, though. Maybe I know you said it's in your perspective, but what you're living on is a much bigger piece of land than I live on.
yeah, it's a flat piece of land, so it's. I do think the terrain has an effect on how the luminaries behave. So maybe if you're in a hilly, mountainy, round place with valleys and stuff, the way they perform may have a
Yeah,
effect
my friend
on.
Mal, because he saw the moon and he drove up this hill. He didn't call it a mountain, he said hill. And when he got to the top of the hill, the moon had gone because he was above the moon.
Crazy. Yeah, I wonder if y'all's elevation is also different than ours. That maybe that it causes a different angle of perspective of how you're witnessing them. I I know that between here and southern Mississippi, it's slightly different as well. The angles at which I see like the belt of Orion and things like that, it's slightly different. So I'm sure between here and there, there's a slight difference of the way they're behaving. So.
I know what you mean, Preston, about taking your own observations, because that was the whole point of why I've just told you what I did. Because it ends up then the sky starts becoming the clock.
Hmm. Well, that's what I was
Well,
saying. All the lights are your own biological clock based off like where your grid location is. They're all personal to you. That's what it's. Everything that I've ever researched has led to me thinking that the entire sky is personal to you. It's your own biological clock. So that's pretty much where I'm at on.
Well, I very much appreciate you taking this time to talk to me. We haven't talked for a long time, really. Well, they used to come on my earlier hangouts, didn't you? And we were obviously they deleted that channel, Preston. But
Yeah, you only had a few hundred subscribers back then at the most, maybe.
yes, I know it's been quite hard work getting subscribers coming back. But then we're not on the same platform as everyone else, are we? We're on the lower level of it. We're at the
Where's
bottom.
everybody else?
Well, if you want to believe in the system and you say, "Oh, I fell down the step," you get millions of views. Those people get millions of views. A lot of the truthers, we don't. They sort of tolerate us, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really pay attention to many truthers anymore, or I just do my own thing and I interact with those people willing to interact with me, and I make friends with the people that come in with me, and then I don't know. I stopped trying to speak unto deaf ears. Like literally, been the best thing that I've ever done in my life. If I remotely sense like any kind of cognitive dissonance, I just immediately shut off on them. I'm like, okay, and I change the subject, and then I turn it into trying to connect with them on a humane level and try to ask them questions, because I just don't want them shutting down on me. That's the big thing.
Okay, well, what I'll do is I'll put your link to your channel in the description.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody's interested in more like the stuff that Preston's talking about, message you on there, yeah?
Yep. So yeah, Protector of the Realm, Preston Vaughan. Hit me up on Facebook. I got links on there too. I will talk back if you want to do live chats, questions. Try to, if you got observations of your own, let me know. So.
Yeah, thank you so much, Preston. And I'm glad that you're in a better place as well. Not that I knew you were in a bad place, but it's just that you're a few years older now, I suppose, a bit wiser.
Yeah, for sure. I've started to be at way more peace at things than I used to be, and that's helped a lot. Once I know now, I no longer believe or have faith or think. I know, and that is a difference in knowing that I'm created and knowing that this place is built for me and that I can create my own reality and be successful as I want to and help others has helped me a lot. So.
Well done. Thank you very much, Preston. And Preston and the chat room. And I'm sure we'll do another one again, won't we, Preston?
Yes, Karen. Cheers.
Don't go, Preston. I'll say goodbye to you on here, but I'll say goodbye to you off air.
Okay.
Anyway, this is for the on air. Bye, everybody.